I stared at the phone in my hand, my knuckles white from gripping it too tightly. Ethan's voice echoed in my ears, but I couldn't make sense of his words. My husband of 15 years, the father of our daughter, was telling me something that shook the very foundation of our life together. "Anna, are you still there?" Ethan's voice crackled through the speaker. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to respond. "Yes, I'm here. I can't believe what you're saying. Elise is pregnant?" "Yes, she is, and she needs our support now more than ever." I closed my eyes, trying to process this information. Elise, Ethan's younger sister, had always been a free spirit, but this was beyond anything I could have imagined. "Who's the father?" I asked, dreading the answer. There was a pause on the other end of the line. She doesn't want to say, but that's not important right now. What matters is that we're there for her." I felt a knot forming in my stomach. "Ethan, how can you say that's not important? She's married, for heaven's sake. What about Robert?" "Robert left her," Ethan said, his voice tight with anger. "He couldn't handle it. But I won't abandon my sister, Anna. I can't." The knot in my stomach tightened. There was something in Ethan's voice, a fierce protectiveness that went beyond brotherly concern. It made me uneasy. "When are you coming home?" I asked, glancing at the clock. It was almost time to pick up Mia from school. "I don't know," Ethan replied. "Elise needs me here. I might stay a few days." I bit back a sharp retort. "Ethan, we need you too. Mia has her dance recital this weekend, remember?" There was a long pause. "I'm sorry, Anna. I'll try to make it, but I can't promise anything. Elise is in a delicate state right now." I felt a surge of anger and hurt. "And what about your daughter? Isn't she important too?" "Of course she is," Ethan snapped. "But this is different. Elise is all alone." "She has you," I muttered, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. "Anna, please try to understand. I'll be home as soon as I can." The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at the phone, a mixture of emotions swirling inside me, concern for Elise, anger at Ethan, and a growing sense of unease about the whole situation. The sound of the front door opening startled me out of my thoughts. "Mom? I'm home!" Mia's cheerful voice called out. I quickly composed myself, pushing my worries aside. "In the kitchen, sweetie?" Mia bounced in, her backpack slung over one shoulder. At 12, she was the spitting image of Ethan, with his dark hair and bright blue eyes. "Where's Dad?" she asked, looking around. I forced a smile. "He had to go help Aunt Elise with something. He'll be home in a few days." Mia's face fell. "But my recital." "I know, honey," I said, pulling her into a hug. "He'll try his best to make it." As I held my daughter, I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted in our family. Ethan's reaction to Elise's pregnancy, his eagerness to drop everything for her, it all felt wrong somehow. I pulled back, looking into Mia's eyes. "How about we practice your routine one more time before dinner?" Mia's face lit up. "Really? You have time?" "For you? Always," I said, meaning every word. As we moved to the living room, clearing space for Mia to dance, I pushed my worries to the back of my mind. But they lingered there. A shadow over what should have been a normal evening at home. Whatever was going on with Ethan and Elise, I had a sinking feeling that our lives were about to change dramatically. And not for the better. The days after Ethan's phone call blurred together in a haze of forced normalcy and mounting tension. I tried to keep things steady for Mia's sake, but every time my phone buzzed, I felt my stomach clench. It was a week before Ethan finally came home. I was in the kitchen when I heard the front door open. "Daddy!" Mia's excited shriek echoed through the house. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, steeling myself for the confrontation I'd been rehearsing all week. But when I walked into the living room, the words died in my throat. Ethan looked different. Haggard, with dark circles under his eyes, but there was an unsettling intensity in his gaze as he hugged Mia. "Hey, sweetie," he said, his voice rough. "I missed you." "I missed you too, Dad," Mia replied, beaming. "Did you see my recital video? Mom recorded it for you." A flicker of guilt crossed Ethan's face. "I'm sorry I missed it, honey. I'll watch it soon, I promise." I cleared my throat. "Mia, why don't you go finish your homework? I need to talk to your father." Once Mia was upstairs, I turned to Ethan. "How's Elise?" He ran a hand through his hair. "She's managing. The pregnancy's been hard on her." "And how are you managing?" I asked, unable to keep the edge from my voice. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" It means you've been gone for a week, Ethan. You missed your daughter's recital. You've barely called. I told you Elise needed me, he snapped. She's going through a difficult time. And we're not? I shot back. Do you have any idea how hard it's been trying to explain to Mia why her father wasn't here? Ethan's face softened. I'm sorry, Anna. I know it's been tough, but Elise, she's all alone. She needs support. What about Robert? I asked. Has he really just abandoned her and their unborn child? A strange look passed over Ethan's face. Robert's out of the picture. For good. Something in his tone made me pause. Ethan, what aren't you telling me? He looked away. Nothing. It's complicated, that's all. I stepped closer, forcing him to meet my eyes. No, there's more to this. I can tell what's really going on with Elise. Ethan's jaw clenched. Drop it, Anna. It's family business. I am your family, I exclaimed, my voice rising. Or have you forgotten that? Of course not, he said, but his eyes slid away from mine. Look, I'm tired. Can we talk about this later? Before I could respond, Mia's voice called down from upstairs. Mom? Dad? Is everything okay? I took a deep breath, forcing my voice to steady. Everything's fine, sweetie. Just grown-up talk. Ethan used the interruption to retreat. I'm going to take a shower, he muttered, heading for the stairs. I watched him go, a cold feeling settling in my chest. This wasn't just about Elise's pregnancy. There was something more, something Ethan wasn't telling me. That night, as we lay in bed, the silence between us felt like a chasm. I turned to face Ethan's back, watching the rise and fall of his breathing. Ethan, I whispered, what's happening to us? He didn't respond for so long I thought he'd fallen asleep. Then, so quietly I almost missed it, he murmured. I don't know, Anna. I just don't know. I rolled onto my back, staring at the ceiling. The man lying next to me suddenly felt like a stranger. The life we'd built together, the love we'd shared, it all seemed to be slipping away, and I didn't know how to stop it. As I drifted off into an uneasy sleep, one thought kept circling in my mind. Whatever was going on with Elise, it was tearing my family apart, and I was determined to find out why, no matter the cost. The shrill cry of a newborn pierced the air as I stood in the hospital corridor, my hands clenched at my sides. Ethan burst out of the delivery room, his face flushed with excitement. It's a boy, he exclaimed, grabbing my shoulders. Owen's here, Anna. He's perfect. I forced a smile, trying to match his enthusiasm. That's wonderful, Ethan. How's Elise? She's doing great, he said, his eyes shining. Come on, you have to see him. As we entered the room, I saw Elise cradling a tiny bundle. She looked up, her face glowing despite the exhaustion evident in her eyes. Anna, meet your nephew. I approached the bed, peering down at the infant. My heart softened at the sight of his scrunched-up face. He's beautiful, Elise, I said softly. Ethan moved to the other side of the bed, his hand resting on Elise's shoulder. You did amazing, sis, he murmured. Something in his tone made me look up sharply. The tenderness in Ethan's eyes as he gazed at Elise and Owen sent a chill down my spine. Where's Mia? Elise asked, breaking the moment. She's with my parents, I replied. We thought it best not to bring her to the hospital. Ethan frowned. She should be here to meet her cousin. It's late, Ethan, I said, trying to keep my voice even. She has school tomorrow. He waved dismissively. This is more important. I'll go pick her up. No, I said firmly. She needs her sleep. We can bring her tomorrow. Ethan's eyes flashed with anger. But before he could respond, a nurse entered to check on Elise and Owen. As weeks passed, Ethan's devotion to Elise and Owen only intensified. He was constantly at their house, helping with feedings, diaper changes, and midnight wake-ups. Meanwhile, our own home life suffered. One evening, I found Mia sitting alone at the dinner table, pushing food around her plate. Sweetie, what's wrong? I asked, sitting beside her. She looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. Why doesn't Dad want to be with us anymore? My heart shattered. I pulled her into a tight hug. Oh, honey, your dad loves us very much. He's trying to help Aunt Elise right now. But why does he have to help her all the time? Mia sniffled. Can't someone else do it? I had no answer for her. The truth was, I'd been asking myself the same question. Later that night, I confronted Ethan as he came home late again. This has to stop, Ethan, I said, my voice trembling with suppressed anger. Mia thinks you don't want to be with us anymore? Ethan's face hardened. That's ridiculous. Of course I want to be with you, but Elise needs me right now. And we don't, I shot back. When was the last time you had dinner with us? or helped Mia with her homework. I'm doing the best I can, Anna, he snapped. Elise is a single mother. She needs support. And what about your own family? I asked, my voice rising. We need you too, Ethan. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. You don't understand. Owen, he needs a father figure. I stared at him, a cold realization settling in my gut. And you think that should be you? Ethan's silence was deafening. Ethan, I said slowly, what exactly is your relationship with Elise? His head snapped up, eyes blazing. What are you implying? I don't know, I said, my voice shaking. But something isn't right here. The way you look at her, the way you prioritize them over us, it's not normal, Ethan. You're being paranoid, he spat. Elise is my sister, Owen is my nephew, that's all. But as he stormed out of the room, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story. Something dark and twisted that threatened to tear our family apart. I sank onto the couch, my mind reeling. Whatever was going on between Ethan and Elise, one thing was clear. I needed to protect Mia. And to do that, I might have to be prepared to fight for my family in ways I never imagined. I stared at the elaborate birthday cake on the kitchen counter, the number 13 spelled out in pink frosting. Mia's excitement had been building for weeks, and I'd promised her the best birthday party ever. But as I glanced at the clock, my heart sank. Ethan was late. Again. The doorbell rang, and I plastered on a smile as I went to greet Mia's friends. Soon the house was filled with the chatter and laughter of teenage girls. Mia kept glancing at the door, her smile faltering each time it wasn't her father walking through. Mom, she whispered during a lull in the party games. Where's Dad? I squeezed her shoulder. I'm sure he's on his way, sweetie. You know how traffic can be. But as the hours ticked by, my reassurances rang hollow. When it was time to cut the cake, Mia's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Let's wait just a few more minutes, she pleaded. I nodded, my own anger building. I stepped into the hallway and dialed Ethan's number for the 10th time. To my surprise, he picked up. Anna, I can't talk right now, he said, his voice hushed and urgent. Ethan, where are you? I hissed. Mia's party started hours ago. I know. I'm sorry. There was an emergency with Owen. An emergency? I interrupted. Is he okay? There was a pause. He's fine now. Just a little fever. But Elise was panicking and I had to. Had to what, Ethan? I snapped. Miss your daughter's 13th birthday for a fever? Couldn't Elise handle it on her own? You don't understand, he said, frustration evident in his voice. Elise needs me. And Mia doesn't. I was nearly shouting now. Get your priorities straight, Ethan. Your daughter is waiting for you. I hung up before he could respond, taking a deep breath to compose myself before returning to the party. Mia's face fell when she saw me return alone. He's not coming, is he? I pulled her into a hug, feeling her body shake with silent sobs. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. But we're not going to let that ruin your day, okay? Let's cut that cake. The party continued, but the joy had been sucked out of it. As the last guest left, Mia retreated to her room without a word. I was clearing up when Ethan finally came home, looking haggard and guilty. Where's Mia? He asked, his eyes darting around the room. In her room, I said coldly. Crying, probably. Nice of you to show up. Ethan's face crumpled. Anna, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Save it, I cut him off. I'm not the one you need to apologize to. He nodded and headed upstairs. I followed, lingering in the hallway as he knocked on Mia's door. Mia? Sweetheart, can I come in? There was no response. Ethan opened the door slowly and I heard Mia's muffled sobs. Oh, honey, Ethan said, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry. Why weren't you here? Mia's voice was small and hurt. Samna, don't you care about me anymore? Of course I do, Ethan exclaimed. You're my little girl. I love you more than anything. Then why are you always with Aunt Elise and Owen? Mia asked. Don't we matter anymore? There was a long pause. When Ethan spoke again, his voice was strained. It's complicated, sweetheart. Aunt Elise and Owen, they need me right now. And we don't. Mia's voice rose. I needed you today, Dad, and you weren't here. I couldn't take it anymore. I stepped into the room, my eyes locking with Ethan's. I think you should go, I said quietly. Ethan looked between Mia and me, desperation in his eyes. Anna, please. No, I said firmly. You've made your choice, Ethan. Now you need to live with it. As Ethan left, his shoulders slumped in defeat. I sat on the bed and pulled Mia close. She clung to me, her tears soaking my shirt. In that moment, I knew things would never be the same. The life we'd built was crumbling, and I had to decide how to protect what mattered most, my daughter. The tension in our house had become unbearable since Mia's birthday disaster. Ethan was spending more time than ever at Elise's, and when he was home, the silence between us was deafening. I'd reached my breaking point. One evening, as Ethan was heading out yet again, I blocked the door. "We need to talk," I said firmly. He sighed, checking his watch. "Can it wait? Elise is expecting me." "No, it can't," I snapped. "Sit down, Ethan. Now." Reluctantly, he followed me to the living room. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the confrontation I'd been avoiding for months. "What's really going on between you and Elise?" I asked bluntly. Ethan's face hardened. "We've been through this, Anna. She's my sister. I'm helping her with Owen." "It's more than that," I pressed. "The way you look at her, the way you prioritize them over us, it's not normal, Ethan." He stood up abruptly. "You're being ridiculous. Is this why you stopped me, to accuse me of what exactly?" I met his gaze unflinchingly. "I don't know. You tell me. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're in love with your sister." The color drained from Ethan's face. For a moment, he looked like I'd slapped him. Then his expression twisted into something I'd never seen before. A mix of anger, guilt, and relief. "You have no idea what you're talking about," he hissed. "Then explain it to me," I shouted, my composure finally cracking. "Because I'm losing my husband. Mia's losing her father, and I don't understand why." Ethan paced the room, running his hands through his hair. "It's complicated, Anna. Elise and I, we have a bond you couldn't possibly understand." "Try me," I said, my voice cold. He stopped, turning to face me. "Elise and I, we've always been close. Closer than most siblings. When she got pregnant, when Robert left her, I couldn't abandon her. I couldn't let her face that alone." "But Owen isn't just your nephew, is he?" I whispered, the horrible realization dawning on me. Ethan's silence was all the confirmation I needed. I felt the room spin, nausea rising in my throat. "How long?" I managed to choke out. "Anna, please." "How long, Ethan?" I demanded. He slumped onto the couch, defeated. "Years. Since we were teenagers. It just happened." I stumbled back, gripping the wall for support. "And Owen?" Ethan nodded, unable to meet my eyes. The betrayal, the lies, the years of deception, it all came crashing down on me. I felt like I was drowning, gasping for air in a world that no longer made sense. "Does Mia know?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "God, no," Ethan said quickly. "We never wanted to hurt her, or you. We tried to end it so many times, but you couldn't," I finished for him. "And now there's a child." Ethan looked up, his eyes pleading. "I know it's wrong, I know it's messed up, but I love them, Anna. I can't abandon them now." In that moment, looking at the man I thought I knew, I felt something inside me harden. The shock and pain gave way to a cold, clear purpose. "Get out," I said quietly. "What?" "Get out of this house," I repeated, my voice gaining strength. "Pack your things and leave." "Anna, please, we can work this out." "There's nothing to work out," I cut him off. "You made your choice a long time ago, Ethan. Now I'm making mine." As Ethan gathered his belongings, moving like a man in a daze, I sat at the kitchen table, my mind racing. I knew the road ahead would be hard. Explaining this to Mia, dealing with the inevitable fallout when the truth came out, it would be a nightmare. But as I heard the front door close behind Ethan for the last time, I felt a strange sense of calm. The life I thought I had was over, but in its place, I saw a chance for something new. A life built on truth, not lies. A life where I could protect Mia from the twisted web her father had woven. It wouldn't be easy, but as I climbed the stairs to wake Mia and begin the hardest conversation of our lives, I knew one thing for certain. We would survive this. We had to. The invitation to Owen's first birthday party sat on our kitchen counter like a ticking time bomb. Mia eyed it warily, her young face etched with a wariness no 13-year-old should possess. "Do we have to go, Mom?" she asked, her voice small. I sighed, pulling her close. "I think we should, sweetie. He's still your cousin." The truth was, I dreaded this party as much as Mia did. But after months of separation and tense co-parenting arrangements, I felt we needed to make an appearance, if only to show Ethan we were moving on. As we pulled up to Elise's house, my stomach churned. Colorful balloons decorated the front yard, a cheerful facade that felt like a mockery of the turmoil beneath. Ethan greeted us at the door, his smile strained. "Anna, Mia, I'm glad you came." Mia brushed past him without a word, heading straight for a group of cousins in the backyard. I followed Ethan inside, steeling myself for what lay ahead. The house was filled with family members, many of whom shot curious glances our way. I plastered on a smile, determined to get through this for Mia's sake. Elise approached, Owen balanced on her hip. "Anna, thank you for coming," she said, her voice syrupy sweet. "It means so much to us." I nodded stiffly, unable to form words. The sight of Owen, with his familiar blue eyes, Ethan's eyes, made my chest tighten. As the party progressed, I kept a watchful eye on Mia. She seemed to be holding up well, laughing with her cousins and pointedly avoiding Ethan and Elise. It wasn't until the cake-cutting ceremony that things took a turn. Ethan stood up, tapping his glass for attention. "I'd like to make a toast," he announced, his eyes shining. "To Owen, our beautiful boy, and to family, the bonds that tie us together no matter what." His gaze lingered on Elise, and I saw her blush. My stomach turned. "Owen's arrival has made me realize what truly matters," Ethan continued. "Family is everything, and I have a vision for our future, a future where our children carry on our legacy." I frowned, a sense of unease growing. "In fact," Ethan said, his voice filled with misplaced pride, "I've already started planning for Owen and Mia's future together. Wouldn't it be wonderful to see them united, keeping our family's bonds strong?" The room fell silent. I felt the blood drain from my face as the implications of his words sank in. "What are you talking about?" I demanded, my voice shaking. Ethan turned to me, his eyes bright with a fervor I didn't recognize. "Think about it, Owen. Cousins united in marriage. It's perfect. Our family's legacy preserved." I stood up so quickly my chair toppled backward. "Have you lost your mind?" I hissed. "Mia is 13. Owen is a baby. And they're cousins. It's not unheard of." Ethan argued, oblivious to the horrified looks around him. "In many cultures—" "Stop it," I shouted. "Just stop. This is sick, Ethan. You're sick." I scanned the room for Mia, panic rising when I couldn't see her. Then I heard a sob from the hallway. I rushed out to find Mia curled up on the floor, her body shaking. "Oh, baby," I whispered, gathering her in my arms. "I'm so sorry. We're leaving now." Ethan appeared in the doorway. "Anna, wait, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain." I spat, helping Mia to her feet. "Stay away from us, Ethan. I mean it." As we hurried to the car, Mia clung to me, her tears soaking my shirt. "Mom," she whimpered, "what's wrong with Dad?" I held her tighter, my mind racing. How could I protect her from this? How had things gone so terribly wrong? Driving away from Elise's house, I made a decision. This wasn't just about a broken marriage anymore. This was about protecting Mia from a toxic, twisted family dynamic that threatened to destroy her. As we pulled into our driveway, I turned to Mia, my resolve hardening. "Pack a bag, sweetheart. We're going to Grandma and Grandpa's for a while." Mia nodded, relief flooding her tear-stained face. As she ran inside, I sat in the car, my hands gripping the steering wheel. I knew the road ahead would be tough, but I was ready to fight. For Mia, for our future, for the family we deserved. The drive to my parents' house was a blur of streetlights and Mia's muffled sobs. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, my mind racing with the enormity of what had just happened. As we pulled into the driveway, my mother rushed out, her face etched with concern. "Anna, what's wrong? Is Mia okay?" I shook my head, unable to form words. We stumbled inside, Mia clinging to me like a lifeline. "It's Ethan," I finally managed to choke out. He's lost his mind." Over cups of strong tea, with Mia safely tucked away in the guest room, I poured out the whole sordid story to my parents. Their faces morphed from shock to horror to outrage. "You can't go back there," my father said firmly. "You and Mia will stay here as long as you need." I nodded gratefully, feeling a small measure of relief, but I knew this was just the beginning. The next morning, as Mia slept, my phone buzzed incessantly with messages from Ethan. "Anna, please, let me explain. You're overreacting. Think of Mia. We can work this out. Come home." I deleted each one, my resolve strengthening with every plea. But then came a message that made my blood run cold. "If you don't bring Mia home, I'll file for full custody. Don't test me, Anna." My hands shook as I showed the message to my parents. "He can't do that, can he?" I whispered. My father's face hardened. "We won't let him. I'm calling our lawyer right now." The next few days were a whirlwind of legal consultations and hushed conversations. Mia wandered through the house like a ghost, her eyes haunted. I tried to shield her from the worst of it, but I knew she sensed the tension. On the fourth day, as I was helping my mother with dinner, the doorbell rang. My heart stopped when I saw Ethan standing there, his eyes wild. "Where's Mia?" he demanded, trying to push past me. I stood my ground. "You need to leave, Ethan. Now. She's my daughter," he shouted. "You can't keep her from me." Mia appeared at the top of the stairs, her face pale. "Dad?" Ethan's expression softened. "Mia, sweetheart, come on, we're going home." I moved to block the stairs. "She's not going anywhere with you." Ethan's face contorted with rage. He lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "You can't do this, Anna. You can't take my family away from me. Let go of her." My father's voice boomed as he appeared from the kitchen, phone in hand. "The police are on their way, Ethan. Leave now, or you'll be arrested." For a moment I thought Ethan might actually hit my father, but then, as if deflating, he released my arm and stumbled back. "This isn't over," he hissed. "I'll see you in court." As he stormed off, I collapsed against the wall, my legs giving out. Mia rushed down the stairs, throwing herself into my arms. "Mom," she sobbed, "I'm scared." I held her tight, my own tears falling. "I know, baby. I am too, but we're going to be okay. I promise. I promise." That night, as Mia finally slept, curled up next to me in the guest room bed, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. The life I'd known was gone, shattered beyond repair. The man I'd loved, the father of my child, had become a stranger, a threat. I knew the road ahead would be hard. A custody battle, the inevitable gossip and judgment from those who didn't know the whole story, the challenge of rebuilding our lives from scratch. But as I looked at Mia's peaceful face, I felt a fierce determination well up inside me. No matter what it took, no matter how hard I had to fight, I would protect my daughter. I would give her the safe, loving home she deserved, even if it meant facing down Ethan and his twisted family alone. As the first light of dawn crept through the window, I made a silent vow. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about reclaiming our lives, our happiness, our future. And I was ready for the fight. The courtroom felt suffocating as I sat, hands clasped tightly in my lap, waiting for the judge to return with her decision. Mia sat beside me, her face pale but determined. Across the aisle, Ethan glared, his eyes cold and unfamiliar. The past 6 months had been a nightmare of legal battles, therapy sessions, and sleepless nights. But through it all, Mia and I had grown stronger, our bond unbreakable in the face of adversity. The judge entered, her face unreadable. "In the matter of custody for Mia Stewart, I've reached a decision." I held my breath, feeling Mia's hand slip into mine. "Full custody is granted to Anna Stewart, with supervised visitation for Ethan Stewart, for pending completion of mandatory counseling and evaluation." Relief washed over me like a tidal wave. Mia threw her arms around me, tears streaming down her face. "We did it, Mom," she whispered. As we left the courtroom, Ethan approached, his face a mask of anger and desperation. "This isn't over, Anna. I'll appeal." "No, Ethan." I cut him off, my voice steady. "It is over. For Mia's sake, get help. Be the father she deserves." With that, we walked away, leaving behind the shattered remains of our old life. The next few months were a whirlwind of change. We moved into a small apartment, just Mia and me. I found a job at a local community center helping families in crisis. The irony wasn't lost on me, but the work felt right, like I was finally where I was meant to be. Mia thrived in her new school, making friends and rediscovering her love for art. Slowly, the haunted look left her eyes, replaced by a spark of joy and hope. One evening, as we sat on our tiny balcony watching the sunset, Mia turned to me. "Mom, are you happy?" I looked at her, really looked at the strong, resilient young woman she was becoming, and felt a surge of pride and love. "Yes, sweetheart, I am. Are you?" She nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "I am. I miss Dad sometimes, but I'm glad we're here. Just us." I pulled her close, kissing the top of her head. "Me too, baby. Me too." As the years passed, our little family of 2 grew stronger. Ethan eventually completed his counseling and began supervised visits with Mia. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Elise and Owen faded into the background, a painful chapter closed. On Mia's 18th birthday, we threw a small party in our apartment. As I watched her blow out the candles, surrounded by friends and laughter, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. Later that night, as we cleaned up, Mia hugged me tightly. "Thank you, Mom," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "for everything, for being strong enough for both of us." Tears pricked my eyes as I held her close. "Oh, Mia, you were the strong one. You gave me the courage to fight." As she pulled away, wiping her eyes, she grinned. "We make a pretty good team, huh?" I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. The best. That night, as I lay in bed, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. The pain, the fear, the heartbreak, it had all led to this moment of quiet joy. I'd lost the life I thought I wanted, but I'd gained something far more precious, a true understanding of my own strength and an unbreakable bond with my daughter. I thought of the frightened, confused woman I'd been all those years ago, receiving that fateful phone call from Ethan. If I could go back, I'd tell her, "You're stronger than you know. Trust yourself. Fight for what matters. The road ahead is hard, but the destination is worth every step." As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. We'd weathered the storm, Mia and I. We'd faced the darkness and emerged into the light, scarred but unbroken. And whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew we'd face them together, with love, courage, and the unshakable bond between a mother and daughter. In the end, that was the greatest victory of all.